What if Hitler had won? Is the question today. Tell you what would have happened, yeah. His reign of terror would have only lasted for so long until the great JM was born. He grew up to be the savior of humanity. The black man rised against the Germans and saved the world from condemnation.
World War II, the largest and most costly war in all of human history, is still within living memory of some of us around the world, and the fallout of this massive conflict is still visible 70 years after the event. The aftermath of the war gave rise to a massive displacement and migration of citizens in Europe. In a modern world where it's difficult to establish just who are the good guys and who are the bad guys, the Second World War leaves little in the way of ambiguity. A madman set to take over the world had to be stopped by a morally responsible world stage. Fortunately, Germany was stopped. But in today's episode of the Infographic Show, we ask, what if Hitler had won World War II? This must be one of the biggest what-ifs in history, and had Germany not made the double error of first invading the Soviet Union and then declaring war on the USA, we might have been living in a world where the Nazis had been the victors. The citizens of the Soviet Union were the ones who paid the dearest for the Allied victory, and if it were not for their determination and resistance, we may well be speaking German and chomping on bratwurst right now. But for this to have happened, we need to factor in a number of variables and reverse engineer a scenario that gives Hitler and Germany a good fighting chance of winning the war. For Hitler to have declared victory, he would have had to have gained a lot more land than he had. The likelihood of Great Britain and the United States ceding their territory is very slim. Yet it is possible that some kind of ceasefire would have occurred whereby Germany would have temporary control over the Allied nations. Hitler was, by some accounts, terrified of the United States becoming part of the Allied forces, having, as they did, large resources and being as far away as they were. Capturing land across the oceans would have been unlikely. Instead, the USA would have had to agree to become passive in the conflict, leaving Germany to have its way with Europe. It would have had to have made economic sense for the USA to continue to do deals with a German-led Europe rather than the individual countries. Germany would keep the countries it conquered, including France and Poland, and Italy would continue to be a German ally. Spain and Portugal would find themselves aligned with Germany, and Switzerland would remain neutral. For Germany to have won the Second World War, they would have had to have given up their ambitions to take the Soviet Union. However, Stalin was not going to stay quiet, so some kind of peace deal would have had to be brokered between the Soviets and Germany if Hitler were to win the war. Likewise, Germany would have had to have abandoned its plans to take Japan, and being so far away, there would be no real reason to pursue the East once they'd taken the lion's share of Europe. In short, a lot of the bigger players on the world stage would have had a reason to let Germany carry on with its ambitions. This lack of interference would itself be morally wrong, considering the Nazis' attempt to exterminate entire sections of the population, such as Jews and other so-called undesirables, like gay people, the mentally ill, Romani, etc. So if the Germans had won the Second World War and were allowed to continue their ethnic cleansing, we would now be living in a world where inside the Greater German Reich, these people would have been eliminated. American science fiction writer Philip K. Dick in 1962 wrote one of the first alternate history novels to look at what would happen. In his book, Nazi Germany, Italy, and Japan have won the war, and the world is divided between them in blocks. The Empire of Japan includes all of Greater East Asia, with the United States divided between the Japanese puppet Pacific States of America and the Rocky Mountain States, a Nazi puppet state of the USA. Canada avoids occupation in this scenario, despite being part of the British Empire and being at war with the Nazis from the start. With the USA having obtained nuclear capability by 1945, Nazi Germany would have been desperate to find their own weapons of mass destruction. Nazism may have been discovered by its own people to be inherently evil and be overthrown from within. The truth is, we will never know just how the world would have panned out, as there are simply too many variables to take into consideration. It is safe to say that the victory would probably be short-lived, as the Allies decided once again that the right thing to do would have been to remove Hitler from the world stage once and for all. So, what do you think would have happened if Hitler and Germany won the Second World War?
Like I told you, she's got an ass, bro. She's got an ass, bro. Goddamn! But yeah, Jane would have saved the world, bro.
You see, I'm liking the way that you force it up on me. Baby, come with me, come and show me. You can phone me when you're lonely. I'm just trying to be a one and only.